One warrior against his entire tribe, ready for the final battle. Born a barbarian, his weapon thirsts for battle. Raised as a warrior, he knows no path other than fighting. His clan considers it an honor to die on the battlefield. At the edge of a cliff, his family desperately tries to escape their pursuers. He shouts to them to buy time for a saving spell. A woman named Evelyn and her son hurriedly prepare for a ritual. The boy looks at his father, the most honored warrior, with horror. Betrayed by his own tribe, he fought to the end for his family and honor. Pierced by spears, he lets out his last furious roar. Even on the brink of death, his eyes burn with untamed rage. The son screams in horror, seeing his father fall, but the warrior refuses to die, launching a final attack. In his death agony, he takes as many enemies with him as possible. Meanwhile, the mother completes the ritual, her hands glowing with magic. The saving spell envelops the boy, pulling him away from the edge of the abyss. The mother lets him go, believing he will be better off anywhere else. Through tears, she asks him for only one thing: to survive. The boy desperately reaches back, overwhelmed by the fear of loneliness. The father's last cry is the name of his son, for whom he sacrificed everything. The father roars his final command: to become strong. Strong enough to never lose anything again. His last will is for his son to survive at any cost. Through tears, the boy vows to fulfill his legacy. There was no fear in the father's eyes, only the pride of a barbarian. Years later, in a dark alley, bullies found a new victim. On his knees is schoolboy Kim Jintae, their next target. He timidly tries to reason with them, but only provokes mockery. In despair, the boy warns that his friend will arrive soon. The gang leader swings, mocking his words. But the leader's fist misses its mark. He is slammed into a brick wall himself. From around the corner comes a calm voice calling Jintae. The bullies turn in horror at the sound. Before them stands a figure with glowing red eyes. It is Cheoldu, and he believes these guys lack manners. The thugs whisper in fear, unable to believe he punched through the wall with his fist. Cheoldu grabs the leader by the collar, demanding an explanation. He coldly states that he is Jintae's friend. The bully's face twists in pain under his steel grip. Later, Jintae admiringly tells his friend that he is incredible as always. Jintae suspiciously asks if he is really human. Cheoldu angrily denies it but secretly acknowledges his secret. For 10 years now, he, a barbarian, has lived in a world foreign to him, on Earth. At home during dinner, grandfather worries that his grandson is not eating at all. Cheoldu, with a full mouth, assures him that he simply has no appetite. The old man just smiles warmly, saying he is satisfied just by seeing his grandson. He remembers how grandfather found him, lonely and lost. This kind man took in the barbarian boy without asking unnecessary questions. Suddenly, grandfather asks why he doesn't want to become a professional boxer. Cheoldu gloomily thinks it's impossible since barbarians and humans are different species. His participation in sports would be cheating because he easily surpasses any human. He mentally apologizes to grandfather because a barbarian has only one path: to be a warrior. His path is not human sport but bloody battles against strong opponents. But there is one big problem with this destiny. This cursed earth is too peaceful for a warrior thirsty for battle. Suddenly, grandfather watching TV notices something troubling in the news. The screen shows rescuers at the site of a mysterious disaster in the city of Cheongju. The boy runs to grandfather, who talks about a tragedy with over 120 victims already. Grandfather mentions that a monster appeared, and this word makes the boy freeze. Meanwhile, blurred footage of a terrible creature is shown on the screen. The announcer warns about unidentified life forms spotted in the area. Grandfather worries about his grandson, but he only mumbles his name. With a determined look, Cheoldu declares that he needs to step away for a moment. Jintae drives his friend to the scene, grumbling that he's not his chauffeur. Cheoldu thanks his friend, saying he wouldn't have made it without his help. The boy realizes that the monster from the news is a creature from his native world. Arriving at the site, they see a huge crowd and understand that it's serious. Jintae is shocked. The area is cordoned off by soldiers, not just rescuers. When Cheoldu gets out of the car, someone immediately notices his physique. Some people in body armor approach him right away and ask which group he belongs to. A stranger hands Cheoldu a business card, offering him to join their group. Cheoldu hopefully asks if it's a guild where warriors gather. The man laughs, finding his question amusing, and friendly hugs the boy. He says they colonize planets, so they're almost warriors, and advises him not to refuse. Cheoldu looks puzzled at the card, trying to understand what it means. But he crumples the card, declaring that he is a warrior and work is a disgrace to him. The stranger shouts in rage that some brat dares to talk nonsense and refuse their offer. Cheoldu's eyes flare up and his fist is engulfed in flames. He asks if warriors are being insulted here. Suddenly, their argument is interrupted by a giant purple vortex appearing in the sky. Something begins to seep out of the dark portal, causing the crowd to freeze in horror. Armed people prepare for battle, shouting orders. Jintae panics and asks his friend what the hell is going on. A system message appears in the sky. The apocalypse trial begins. Cheoldu repeats the word apocalypse in shock. A new announcement states that the end of the world is approaching Earth. But the refuge planet Nova extends a helping hand to Earth's inhabitants. Everyone is ordered to run to Nova through the portal, and a bright light pulls them inside. A powerful beam of light strikes the ground, taking everyone with it. In the next moment, they find themselves in an unfamiliar forest, looking at exotic birds. Jintae screams in horror, not understanding where they have ended up. Jintae panics, shaking his friend and shouting that it's his fault and that his car is gone somewhere. Suddenly, a blue system screen appears before him, which he tries to push away. The screen displays a quest. Obtain 1 goblin coin to receive the novice class. Cheoldu grimly tells his friend to look aside. A whole crowd of green-skinned creatures rushes at them from behind the trees. Jintae asks in horror what these monsters with burning red eyes are. He panics and shouts if they really have to fight these creatures. Before he can finish, Cheoldu takes off, leaving him behind. With a wild smile, the warrior rushes straight at the goblin crowd, thinking how long he has waited for this moment. He roars as he strikes the first monster, eager to finally test how strong he is. His blood boils and his body longs for battle, dodging goblin attacks. The barbarian instinct awakens, filling his fists with red energy. The goblins furiously attack him, trying to overwhelm him with numbers. But the boy just laughs, shouting, "Come on, Apocalypse," as he scatters the monsters. He realizes this is his chance to finally become who he was born to be. His fist crashes with crushing force right into the monster's face. Cheoldu breaks through the crowd alone, destroying one enemy after another. Jintae watches in horror as his friend takes down 3 in an instant. No goblin can withstand his furious and precise blows. After death, the monster disintegrates into blue particles right at his feet. From the blue particles materializes a shining coin, and the boy reaches for it, not understanding what it is. He realizes it's the very goblin coin from the quest, a currency that cannot be transferred. Cheoldu looks at the glowing trophy in his palms with surprise. A system message appears. Exam passed, and he has earned the right to enter the portal to Nova. Jintae fearfully asks his friend what entering Nova means. Cheoldu turns around, assuming that if it's about a portal, then they mean that giant purple vortex in the sky. Suddenly we see a beaten Jintae holding a club, angrily muttering his friend's name. Surrounded by goblins, he shouts at Cheoldu, asking if he's going to kill him. Cheoldu calmly replies with crossed arms that coins cannot be transferred, they must be earned personally. Jintae screams in despair that they threw him, who can't fight, into the very hell. Suddenly another goblin jumps on him, making the boy scream in terror. Cheoldu saves his friend with one blow, saying that fighting is the best way to get stronger. He smirks and promises not to let Jintae die since he's the one who got him into trouble. Jintae breathes a sigh of relief. He also completed the quest and got his coin. Meanwhile, 2 soldiers in the forest notice their missing bag, which goblins dragged away. They angrily decide to kill all the monsters to get their gear back. Cheoldu is already sitting on the bag, having found many useful things inside, even combat rations. He suggests having a snack and moving on, but suddenly hears something. Soldiers run out of the bushes shouting, "Die, goblin!" aiming their weapons at them. A soldier freezes in confusion, mistaking them for goblins. Jintae panics, raising his hands and shouting that he is human. The misunderstanding is resolved, and the soldier apologizes, inviting them to dinner by the fire. The military is surprised that the guys are here alone and completely unarmed. Jintae asks if the soldiers are also participating in this end-of-the-world exam. The soldier confirms the government is preparing, and Nova is a planet at the Stone Age level. It turns out corporations and organizations are already secretly fighting for Nova's development. Cheoldu asks if there are many monsters like these on Nova. The soldier explains that this is just a training ground, and it will be much harder on Nova. In gratitude, the military gives them a bag with food and weapons. Cheoldu thinks, so it will be even harder on Nova than here. With a predatory grin, he decides that then he'll have to hunt a little more. Jintae protests, but Cheoldu is adamant. They need to level up faster. Ahead they see an ominous tower with a figure glowing purple at the top. Jintae whispers in horror what kind of creature that is with a huge scythe. Cheoldu excitedly says he came because of a strange sound, and this is definitely not an ordinary goblin. Jintae nervously grips his axe, muttering that this creature looks damn dangerous. "All the better!" shouts Cheoldu and charges forward with burning eyes, armed with a frying pan. A crowd of ordinary goblins stands in his way, looking at him with fury. He shouts, "Get out of the way, riffraff!" scattering the monsters as he breaks through to the tower. At the top of the tower, a goblin shaman looks at the audacious boy with surprise. Cheoldu, swinging his frying pan, swiftly climbs the wooden structure. With a mad grin, he shouts to the tattooed goblin that he's already coming for him. The goblin shaman snarls angrily in response, his eyes blazing with rage. Suddenly, a purple lightning strikes from the sky. It turns out this goblin was a mage. Cheoldu's face is lit by a purple flash as he looks up in amazement. A powerful lightning strike throws the boy back, knocking him off his feet. Jintae screams his friend's name in horror, watching from the ground. The shaman looks down at the fallen enemy with a sense of superiority. But his confidence turns to confusion when he notices something strange. Cheoldu rises from the ground, his body wrapped in lightning, a mad grin on his face. The enraged shaman cannot believe his eyes and prepares another attack. A new, even more powerful lightning strike crashes down on Cheoldu. The boy just grits his teeth, feeling the electricity filling him with strength. He remembers his shaman mother and declares that he is not just a barbarian. His body bursts with a golden aura, absorbing the goblin's purple magic. "Pain makes you stronger," he shouts, his face shining with delight. All the accumulated energy bursts out, causing a massive explosion. The goblin tower shatters into pieces, unable to withstand such force. After the explosion, Cheoldu falls unconscious to the ground among the debris. Cheoldu lies on the ground smirking. He was saved by resistance to magic inherited from his mother. Suddenly, a glowing orb appears above him, and it's clearly not a goblin coin. It is a monosphere that grants magical power, and the boy realizes he can become a shaman. The sphere flies straight into his chest, filling his body with golden light. He is enveloped by a powerful aura and feels an incredible surge of strength. Cheoldu looks at himself in amazement, feeling that he has become many times stronger. He clenches his fist, amazed by the power gained from the magical sphere. Jintae runs up to his friend shouting as he finally regains consciousness. He can't believe his eyes, surviving a lightning strike unharmed. Is he even human? Cheoldu turns around and Jintae anxiously asks if he is okay. Cheoldu, with glowing eyes, declares that now they need to hunt even more. He shouts that they must quickly find new shamans from whom spheres drop. Jintae desperately screams, begging his friend to stop. After some time, Jintae looks at his restless friend with disbelief. He can't believe Cheoldu hunted goblins all night without sleep. Cheoldu boasts that he obtained spheres not only of mana, but also of strength. The boy is thrilled at how strong he has become in just one day. Suddenly, a system message appears. Field bosses have appeared on the training ground. The system warns that the bosses are too strong for beginners and advises fleeing. Jintae suggests running through the portal, but Cheoldu seriously says, "This is bad." Cheoldu, with burning eyes, shouts that he's excited, while Jintae, horrified, calls him crazy. A field boss appears before them, a lesser ogre, and soldiers open fire on it. One soldier orders to aim at the club-wielding hand, and they continue shooting. But bullets bounce off its thick hide, causing no harm to the monster. The ogre looks down at the helpless soldiers, who freeze in fear. The monster roars and swings its huge club to crush them. Suddenly, someone stops the blow. It's Cheoldu, who stood in the club's path. The soldiers watch in amazement as the boy saves them from certain death. Cheoldu eagerly looks at the huge monster, happy to fight someone bigger than himself. He turns his back to the soldiers and orders everyone to step back. Cheoldu shouts to the soldiers that this monster is his prey. With burning eyes and a fierce cry, he charges straight at the ogre. The boy delivers a crushing blow right to the monster's stomach, but his face twists in surprise. The strike had no effect. He realizes the ogre's skin is as hard as if he had hit steel. In response, the ogre delivers a powerful blow, throwing Cheoldu backward. Jintae and the soldiers watch in horror as their comrade is overwhelmed. The monster towers over the fallen boy, demonstrating its indestructible power. Cheoldu admits that the boss's destructive power surpasses his own. Without giving him time to recover, the ogre swings its leg for a finishing blow. Cheoldu understands he must avoid a head-on collision. The enraged monster unleashes all its fury on him. At the last moment, the boy dodges the crushing blow. He notices that the ogre's attacks are simple and predictable, and he forms a plan. Instead of running away, Cheoldu rushes straight into the attack. He decides to use the monster's own momentum and weight against it. With eyes burning with rage, he prepares for his move. Cheoldu grabs the ogre's arm and throws it over himself. The huge body crashes headfirst into the ground with a thud. The boy swings, ready to deliver the finishing blow to the fallen enemy. The ogre helplessly looks up at him, its head stuck in the ground. Cheoldu shouts fiercely that it's time to work as a dentist. He delivers a crushing blow to the monster's head with both fists. A crack sounds, and the ogre's face is covered with fractures from the powerful strike. But the boy doesn't stop and continues beating the monster, shouting that it's not over yet. With a mad grin and burning eyes, he puts all his fury into the blows. The soldiers are shocked, unable to believe he is defeating the ogre with his bare hands. He triumphantly shouts that he has defeated someone stronger than himself and is ready for new bosses. The defeated ogre's body begins to dissolve, turning into blue light. The boy watches as only a cluster of blue energy remains from the monster. Instead of a blue sphere, a black sphere falls from the ogre, surprising the boy. Cheoldu examines the sphere with interest, wondering what ability it will grant. After absorbing it, he freezes in shock from the power gained. The rescued soldiers thank him, but the boy waves it off, saying he just wanted to fight. One of the soldiers advises them to visit the shop before heading to Nova. He explains that only items purchased there can be taken along. The shop owner turns out to be a cunning goblin who offers them his goods. Jintae is amazed by the talking goblin while the other soldiers leave through the portal. The friend enthusiastically reminds Cheoldu that they have plenty of coins and asks what to do. Cheoldu seriously and cunningly considers their next move. Cheoldu decides to spend all the money and stocks up fully on weapons. Shouting that gear is the most important thing in games, they buy everything they can carry. A system message appears. All conditions for transition to Nova have been met. A glowing portal opens before them, inviting them into a new world. Jintae anxiously asks his friend if he's nervous about being sent to another planet. Cheoldu, with a mad grin, asks what kind of nervousness he means. He shouts that he's bursting with excitement in anticipation of new adventures. Once there, Jintae points in amazement at two moons in the night sky. They have arrived on the planet Nova, a world similar to Earth but with mysterious symbols in the sky. Lights are visible in the distance, and the friends decide they need to head there. Cheoldu says seriously that they have a problem. His stomach growls loudly and he admits he's starving. Jintae panics. A hungry friend turns into a beast, and the village is half a day's journey away. Suddenly, an unfamiliar voice asks if they are newcomers to Nova. A mysterious beauty emerges from the forest and offers them her help. While Jintae is amazed by her beauty, Cheoldu directly asks where they can find food. The girl nods understandingly, noticing they arrived empty-handed. However, she slyly notes that they didn't come with empty hands. She offers to lead them, promising to show a place with food, and the friends gladly agree. After guiding them through the forest, she points ahead, saying they are already there. The girl explains she accidentally found this great fishing spot. Jintae enthusiastically says he will make fishing rods from supplies bought at the shop. She asks him to handle the rods while she goes for some hidden bait. While crafting a rod, Jintae thinks with relief how lucky they are to meet such a kind girl. Cheoldu growls with burning eyes that he can no longer bear the hunger. Suddenly a system window appears. Jintae created a fishing rod and unlocked the crafting skill. He happily announces the new skill, but at that moment a powerful splash sounds in the water. Unable to wait any longer, Cheoldu shouts and dives into the water, deciding to catch fish with his bare hands. Jintae screams in horror at his crazy friend, seeing him grab something in the water with his bare hands. Jintae sighs, concluding that hunger really does drive people mad. The returning girl suspiciously asks why Jintae is alone. Suddenly, a gang of thugs appears behind her, and the boy freezes in terror. The girl laughs maliciously, mocking how easily he fell for their trap. One of the bandits explains that on Nova, the weak get robbed, and they came for his belongings. Jintae realizes he was deceived in shock as two thugs grab him. The beautiful deceiver declares it's the law of nature and demands they hand over everything peacefully. Despite his fear, Jintae boldly states they will regret it bitterly if they touch him. In response to his threat, one of the bandits smirks and punches him in the face. Holding the beaten boy, they start looking for Cheoldu, assuming he ran away. One suggests he hid in the water, but at that moment a powerful splash bursts from the lake. Cheoldu breaks free from the water, tearing open the jaws of a giant alligator with his bare hands. The bandits watch in horror as their victim is about to be devoured by the huge monster. A memory surfaces. The boy realizes the incredible power gained from the black sphere. He recalls examining the sphere with interest, wondering about its properties. The system had said the sphere allows inheriting one of the ogre's abilities. The monster's jaws can't even scratch him, and Cheoldu understands what jackpot he hit. His new ability turned out to be ogre skin, hide tougher than steel itself. Cheoldu emerges from the water, casually carrying the huge alligator carcass on his shoulder. He looks at the bandits and calmly asks who they are, since he was cooking dinner for two. Beaten Jintae desperately screams to his friend that they were tricked and begs for rescue. Ignoring the bandits, Cheoldu says he needs to eat this crocodile quickly. Jintae angrily shouts that he was beaten while his friend was fishing and doesn't understand his calmness. The bandits nervously exchange glances, doubting if they can defeat such a monster. One of the thugs finally decides to attack, hoping to overwhelm by numbers. Cheoldu easily throws the attacker aside without even dropping the carcass. Looking at the frightened girl, he coldly states that he doesn't solve problems. With burning red eyes, he adds that he simply eliminates them. Later, Cheoldu calmly grills the crocodile while interrogating the defeated bandits. The entire gang, including the girl, kneels before him as he finds out the name of their group. Their beaten leader answers fearfully, wondering where such a strong youth came from. Sitting on the carcass, Cheoldu points at the gang leader and asks if he is the boss here. The beaten bandit denies in fear that he is the leader of this gang. He reveals their boss is named John Young-gu, and he is the strongest in this area. The deceitful girl gloats that their boss is incredibly strong thanks to stolen stat stones. Cheoldu bites into the raw alligator meat with burning eyes. With his mouth full of meat, he says their boss seems to be causing trouble too. The bandits look with disgust as the boy devours the raw flesh of the monster. He throws the huge carcass to the ground, making the whole gang shudder in horror. Cheoldu stands tall and coldly orders them to lead him to their boss. With a predatory gleam in his eyes, he declares his intention to visit this young gu. The bandits bring the boys to their gang's headquarters, a camp of tents. Without waiting for an invitation, Cheoldu sends two thugs flying with one blow. The other gang members watch in horror as their commanders are knocked out with a single strike. Cheoldu, picking at his teeth, calmly notes that the alligator meat has started to digest. The bandits whisper in confusion, not understanding who this guy is and where he came from. One of them accuses the thug who brought them of betrayal, but he realizes they are doomed anyway. Cheoldu shouts at full power, challenging Young-gu to a manly duel. Suddenly a calm voice comes from the largest tent, asking what the noise is about. Jintae looks toward the tent in horror, realizing who is about to appear. Their boss emerges from the tent, a giant wearing a mask seemingly even bigger than Cheoldu. The gang leader John Young-gu angrily asks who dared to touch his men. Young-gu looks down on Cheoldu, calling him a brat and marveling at his audacity. Cheoldu smirks and replies that age is no reason for pride, especially when robbing newcomers. In rage, Young-gu strikes, revealing a huge dragon tattoo on his back. He smirks arrogantly, lecturing the boy that in this world you can't talk too much. But his confidence turns to shock as the strike is easily blocked. Cheoldu grins madly and declares that here an adult is one whose fist is stronger. The leader laughs, finding it interesting that the youth managed to block his attack. Looking at the audacious boy, Young-gu unexpectedly says he likes him. He offers a deal. If Cheoldu loses, he will become his right hand. Cheoldu smirks and accepts the deal, but sets his own condition. If he wins, he will take with him the bandits who deceived them. The leader of that gang is furious that his fate is being decided without his involvement. Without waiting for an answer, Cheoldu charges with a battle cry. He delivers a crushing blow, but Young-gu easily blocks it. Cheoldu is surprised as the opponent deflected the attack without any warning. The gang leader smirks, catching his fist and reproaching him for lack of finesse. Jintae watches in horror, unable to believe his friend's strike was stopped. A bandit maliciously explains that their boss ate 12 stat stones. More than half were for strength, making his skin almost like an ogre's. Young-gu barely restrains a blow, boasting that his skin is almost like an ogre's. But he is horrified and doesn't understand why this boy's fist still penetrates his defense. Thrown back, he admits he hasn't met anyone stronger since the battle with the ogre. The gang leader struggles to stop himself, bracing his hand on the ground. He mockingly says the boy's strike was like a tickle, but feels humiliation inside. Enraged by such arrogance, Young-gu attacks with a shout of "Die!" Their fists collide with incredible force, causing a powerful explosion. The leader's face contorts in shock and confusion at what's happening. A crack is heard. Cheoldu easily breaks his opponent's fingers. Suddenly, Cheoldu's skin turns green, and he smirks because he truly has ogre skin. Cheoldu grabs the leader's throat with a death grip, cutting off his air. He advises his opponent to grit his teeth or risk biting off his own tongue. Seeing their boss in trouble, the bandits panic and decide to intervene in the fight. But the gang that brought Cheoldu unexpectedly blocks their way. Their leader calmly states this is a fair fight, and he will deal with anyone who dares interfere. One of Young Gu's men angrily accuses him of betrayal and breaking the oath of loyalty. He replies that he swears loyalty to the strongest, and since they already consider him a traitor, he will go all the way. Meanwhile, Cheoldu delivers a crushing blow right to Young Gu's face. The deceitful girl and other bandits watch in horror at what's happening. The leader is thrown back, and his men desperately shout their boss's name. The beaten leader, choking on blood, begs for mercy. In horror, he sees Cheoldu soaring into the air for the finishing blow. The fist freezes a millimeter from his face, but Young Gu is already saying goodbye to life. The traitorous bandits sigh in disappointment as they hope to see an interesting spectacle. Their leader looks contemptuously at the defeated boss, calling him pathetic. Having gathered all the belongings of the defeated group, the gang is ready to follow Cheoldu. But as they are about to leave, someone calls out to Cheoldu. It is the defeated Young Gu, who on his knees wants to ask him one question. He cannot believe that such a strong fighter has never shown up anywhere and asks which organization he belongs to. Cheoldu turns around in confusion, not understanding what organization is being referred to. Cheoldu calmly replies that he is just a high school student, shocking the bandits. The leader of the traitors thanks Cheoldu for accepting them into his group. Cheoldu is glad to have his first subordinates, as the path of a barbarian is to become stronger in battle. But he clenches his fist, admitting to himself that he is still too weak. He recalls hesitating at the decisive moment and thinks that his father would be disappointed in him. In anger, he mutters that he should have finished off that bastard, frightening Jintae. Turning around, Cheoldu unexpectedly calls his friend Commander. Jintae is completely confused, unable to believe his ears that he was called Commander. Cheoldu playfully grabs him by the neck, saying they have no time for idle talk. With a sinister grin, he declares that he has already determined their next target. Jintae points ahead, feeling that his instincts are telling him something. Cheoldu grins madly and says that there they will be able to become stronger. He points to a dark pyramid, calling it their new target, the sanctuary. The next morning, Cheoldu addresses his new team at the broken camp. He announces that they are heading across the river and praises Jintae for a good job. The leader of the traitors is shocked and asks when they plan to return. Cheoldu replies that he doesn't know, but the bandit says the nearest portal will open in 4 days. He explains that the portal to Earth opens once every 5 days, and time flows differently here. Jintae breathes a sigh of relief, not wanting to stay on this barbaric planet any longer. Cheoldu decides they will return in 3 days and thinks about taking his grandfather with him. Cheoldu thanks for the information and asks the leader's name, who proudly answers, Jean Do. But Cheoldu declares that from now on he will be called Number 1, shocking the bandit. He decides to address all 5 traitors by numbers, from 1 to 5. The girl angrily shouts that she has a name and refuses to be just a number. However, one fierce look from Cheoldu is enough to make her fall silent in fear. Saying goodbye to his new team, Cheoldu admits that he's just too lazy to remember names. Crossing the river, he is surprised to learn that Jintae made the raft himself and gained experience. Cheoldu rows irritably, unhappy that he's just doing the dirty work. He declares he can't stand it anymore and starts untying the rope. Tying the rope around himself, he stands up while Jintae panics and shouts for him to sit down immediately. Ignoring his friend, Cheoldu shouts too slow and jumps from the raft straight into the water. Underwater, 2 huge crocodiles with burning eyes are already waiting for him. Cheoldu turns into a living motor, and the raft speeds down the river at incredible speed. Jintae admires how quickly his friend adapts to everything. Unlike his friend, he has only been screaming in fear and running away so far. He recalls Cheoldu's words when he appointed him squad commander. Jintae grips the paddle, deciding he will no longer hide and must take action. The friends reach the giant pyramid, and a system window of the sanctuary appears before them. Jintae looks at the holographic screen in confusion, saying he's never seen anything like it before. Cheoldu smirks arrogantly and suggests Jintae go after the coins. Jintae addresses Cheoldu seriously by name. He suggests that this time they collect coins individually, which puzzles his friend. Jintae admits that since the apocalypse began, he has felt completely useless. With determination in his eyes, he declares that he wants to try to manage on his own, without Cheoldu's help. Meanwhile, Cheoldu is already fighting an ostrich-like dinosaur. He beats the monster with mad delight, enjoying the new and interesting opponent. But suddenly, another, larger lizard attacks him from behind. Enraged, Cheoldu shouts how dare it ambush him. With a powerful blow, he sends the lizard flying, promising to turn it into a chicken. After defeating the monsters, he looks at the dropped coins and spheres, deciding it's enough. But his attention is drawn to something else left after the fight. A glowing sphere emerges from the defeated lizard, puzzling Cheoldu. It turns out to be the skill stone Throw, which increases throwing power and speed. Cheoldu absorbs the stone and excitedly feels himself gaining a new ability. Suddenly, he thinks of his friend. He worries about Jintae, who at that moment is stalking his first target. Jintae gathers all his courage and challenges the monster to a fight. However, the lizard charges with a roar, and all the boy's bravery immediately vanishes. Tripping, he falls to the ground in panic, trying to crawl away from danger. "But it's a trap!" Jintae yells and pulls a rope, tightening a noose. The trap works, and the lizard hangs in the air screaming. The monster helplessly struggles, caught in Jintae's clever snare. Not wasting a second, the boy finishes off the immobilized lizard with a knife strike to the head. Falling to the ground exhausted, he complains how tiring his first hunt was. Jintae proudly looks at his crocodile bone knife that helped him survive. He has gained confidence and now believes he can hunt alone. But suddenly a huge orc lumberjack with a club appears behind him. Barely managing to dodge, Jintae avoids a crushing blow to the ground. In horror, he realizes this monster's strength may rival Cheoldu's. The orc swings for another strike, and Jintae desperately realizes he's done for. But at the last moment, the bone knife plunges straight into the orc's eye. The monster roars in pain, its gaze filling with bloody rage. Blinded, the giant loses balance and crashes heavily to the ground. Jintae looks around in shock, trying to understand who saved him. One of the bandits runs out of the forest, calling himself Number 2. It turns out he used the new throw skill to save the boy. Later by the fire, Cheoldu says he's glad to see his friend safe and sound. While Cheoldu deals with monsters, Jintae admits his helplessness in a subdued tone. He laments that he has never done anything on his own, especially in this new world. Cheoldu encourages his friend, handing him a piece of meat and telling him not to despair. Cheoldu says there's no shame in being weak right now. He assures Jintae that he will become a great warrior if he trains. Jintae notes how much his friend has matured in this new world. Cheoldu seriously declares that he is a barbarian and different from ordinary people. Jintae asks in confusion what he means by the word barbarian. Cheoldu, mouth full, asks in surprise if his friend really didn't know. Jintae freezes in shock upon hearing this direct admission. He asks in horror if that means Cheoldu is from a wild tribe. Memories of his friend's inhuman strength flash through his mind. Jintae jumps up and shouts that how could he have known about such a thing? Cheoldu looks at his friend understandingly as he apologizes for his strong reaction. He explains that Jintae shouldn't compare himself to him because they are completely different. After some time, the friends finally reach their goal, the Sanctuary Pyramid. By investing 2,000 coins, they activate the ancient structure. As a reward for activation, the system expands their inventories. Cheoldu receives 5 slots and Jintae 2. Jintae is thrilled with the new ability, while Cheoldu realizes the reward depends on the contribution. Suddenly, the system grants them another blessing, double regeneration for 24 hours. Jintae feels a surge of strength and hopes that with such bonuses, he can also become stronger. He resolutely declares that it's time to stop relying on Cheoldu and gain strength himself. While Jintae rejoices in new opportunities, Cheoldu silently and seriously watches him. Suddenly, a squad of orcs emerges from the forest, and Jintae calls his friend for help in horror. But Cheoldu just says that now, with new bonuses, Jintae must fight too. Jintae looks at his friend cautiously, not daring to take a step. Cheoldu grins and encourages him not to be afraid. A red aura flares around him, for near Jintae stands a true barbarian. Cheoldu urges his friend not to be cowardly and to pull himself together. He gives the order. Jintae takes on one orc, and he will deal with the rest. Shouting, "I'll go first," Cheoldu rushes into the thick of the enemies. Jintae shouts after him in shock, as he thought they would fight together. Without wasting time, Cheoldu already parries a huge club strike with his spear. The orc mockingly shouts that using a weapon against an unarmed opponent is unmanly. The monster's gaze fills with anger. He can't believe the boy is using a weapon. With a smirk, Cheoldu suggests playing fair and breaks his spear over his knee. The orc swings his club, not believing Cheoldu voluntarily disarmed himself. Suddenly, Cheoldu's expression changes. He realizes something has gone wrong. For suddenly Jintae bursts into the fight, striking the orc. The puzzled orc turns to the new opponent, mangling his name. Jintae takes a fighting stance and defiantly shouts at the primitive beast. In a burst of rage, Jintae bites directly into the orc's club. The orc rains blows on the boy, but he stands firm. Jintae receives a crushing blow and thinks he's about to die. But at that moment, the sanctuary's blessing activates, doubling his regeneration. The boy quickly recovers and smirks, ready for round 2. He dodges the club, shouting that fear will not stop him. Jintae firmly decides to become a friend worthy of a true barbarian. However, the orc's next strike still hits him, throwing him back. He crashes into a tree with force, which splinters from the impact. He admits he relied too much on the blessing and lost vigilance. But wiping blood away, Jintae realizes he has begun to see the monster's attack patterns. Shouting, "Now it's my turn!" he charges again at the orc named Katuda. Jintae accurately predicts the orc will start with an overhead strike. He skillfully slips between the monster's legs, moving out of the attack line. Dodging the deadly swing, the boy prepares to counterattack. Behind the enemy's back, he plunges a broken tree branch into its neck. Determination burns in his eyes to deliver the finishing blow. The monster falls to its knees, mortally wounded. While Jintae rejoices, Cheoldu proudly praises him for the victory. The boy, breathing heavily, admits he is beginning to understand the basics of combat. However, then he looks at his friend with admiration. For while he fought one, Cheoldu single-handedly defeated an entire squad. Suddenly, a system window appears before Cheoldu with a notification. The system announces he has unlocked a new skill: Spear Mastery. Cheoldu smirks, noting he gained the skill by fighting with a trophy spear. Jintae realizes this is similar to how he gained the crafting skill by making a fishing rod. Cheoldu asks with a predatory smile if Jintae has recovered for a new fight. He smirks, pointing with a broken spear deeper into the forest. According to him, these tracks will lead them straight to the orc's lair. Soon they notice an orc carrying a log and realize they have arrived at the place. The friends discover a whole village of orc lumberjacks, already being watched by someone. 2 scouts decide to report the find, hoping for a reward for discovering the base. Suddenly, Cheoldu knocks out one of the scouts, catching him off guard. He puts a finger to his lips, signaling silence, and the stunned scout recognizes him. The scout asks in surprise what happened to him, since scouting requires being unnoticed. He warns that it's dangerous here and even Cheoldu should leave before he's caught. Especially beware their boss, the orc chieftain with a huge axe. The scout thinks that defeating such a monster requires a whole company, but Cheoldu just smirks. With a predatory gleam in his eyes, he declares that this axe will be his. Ignoring the warnings, Cheoldu and Jintae head straight to the orc camp. Meanwhile, one of the orcs discovers their fallen comrades and angrily calls for reinforcements. Cheoldu, shirtless now, stands face to face with the orc chieftain amid defeated enemies. Cheoldu smirks and tells Jintae to rest, as this opponent is his. Jintae is surprised when the chieftain says something in Orcish, and Cheoldu seems to understand him. Cheoldu admits to himself that he's just pretending to understand the orc language. The orc chieftain roars in rage, and the boy takes it as a personal insult. The monster swings his giant axe down at him with a roar, but Cheoldu easily blocks the blow with his bare forearm. Jintae realizes that such armor can't be pierced with bare hands. The chieftain swings again, aiming to crack the boy's skull. Cheoldu understands that even his ogre skin won't withstand a direct hit from this axe. In that case, his eye glows red, and he decides to act differently. Instead of dodging, Cheoldu grabs the monster's leg with a death grip. With a devilish grin and burning eyes, he declares, "Your axe." "I'm taking it," he growls, his face contorted in a mad grimace. Straining every muscle, the boy lifts the huge orc into the air by one leg. The chieftain roars something in his language in shock, not believing what's happening. Cheoldu rips the axe from the enemy's hands and thanks him for the gift. Without wasting a second, he brings the trophy weapon down on the chieftain's head. At the moment of impact, the system notifies him that he has gained the skill Axe Mastery. The shocked scout screams in horror that Cheoldu is a true madman. Meanwhile, Jintae shouts excitedly that he knew it. His friend would defeat even the chieftain. The scout thinks in horror that Cheoldu is not human but a true monster. Cheoldu smirks and asks who the real monster is here as he takes the chieftain's axe. We are at the army headquarters, where someone's fate is being decided. Colonel Chan Miran is studying the dossier of a soldier who single-handedly defeated an ogre boss. Moreover, he destroyed an entire gang and hordes of orcs in Nova. The colonel is puzzled how they could have missed such a gem. Opening the personal file, she freezes in amazement. He is still a high school student.
Her order is firm to immediately summon him for early service.
However, she understands that such a person must be kept in the army at any cost. At that moment, Sergeant O knocks on her office door. A sly smile appears on the colonel's face. The perfect candidate for the mission has been found. Her assistant is horrified. Is she really going to send the military police after him? Her words sound like a sentence. In the apocalypse conditions, he will be brought in by force. Sergeant O salutes eagerly, anticipating an interesting assignment. The scene shifts to the disaster zone of Cheongju, where a pillar of energy bursts from the ground. In the crowd of onlookers, someone recognizes the defeated bandits and gloatingly rejoices. The townspeople sigh with relief. The gang that held everyone in fear has been defeated. 3 figures emerge from the residual glow of the portal. At the front is the very hero, Cheoldu, who saved the city. The crowd whispers as they look at him. News of his feat has already spread throughout the city. His friends are proud of him, but Cheoldu himself admits he is just glad to be back on Earth. Just as he decides to go to his grandfather, a giant figure in army boots blocks his way. Sergeant O blocks their path, addressing Cheoldu directly. It turns out he is not alone. With him is Second Lieutenant Choi Seung-ah. The young woman announces that she has an official offer from the military. Cheoldu is puzzled while his glasses-wearing friend has already sized her up. She mentions his incredible achievements in Nova, checking her folder. However, the hero, without listening further, simply turns around and leaves, calling his friend after him. The lieutenant is shocked. She cannot believe she was just ignored. She shouts after them, offering an officer's rank, but receives a cold refusal. Sergeant O smirks, saying he warned her. This guy is no ordinary person. The sergeant's patience snaps, and he calls the hero an ill-mannered brat. Sergeant O delivers a lightning-fast strike, but Cheoldu manages to block it. With a smug grin, the soldier asks if he is now ready to talk. The hero is thrown back, but withstands the power of the blow. However, in Cheoldu's eyes, instead of fear, a fierce rage ignites. In the next moment, he counterattacks, enveloped in a blue aura. His friend shouts Cheoldu's name in horror, unable to believe his eyes. But Sergeant O is faster and delivers a crushing kick to the stomach. Cheoldu doubles over in pain, acknowledging that his opponent is fast and strong. The sergeant mocks him, saying that in New Seoul he is just small fry. The words about New Seoul catch the hero off guard, causing confusion. Sergeant O offers the hero a deal, military service in exchange for developing his power. Cheoldu realizes that without his experience from Nova, he would not have stood against such an enemy. With a smirk, the sergeant asks if he has changed his mind about serving. But the hero, surrounded by a red aura, sets his condition. If he wins, then there will be no talk of military service at all. The sergeant laughs and accepts the challenge, calling his bravery childishness. A fierce exchange of blows begins, with neither side giving in. Cheoldu puts all his rage into every strike. His fist crashes into the sergeant's block, creating a powerful shockwave. The soldier is shocked. He cannot understand where the guy got such monstrous strength. Cheoldu unleashes a barrage of blows on the sergeant, not giving him a chance to recover. A powerful kick sends the soldier staggering back, making him falter. The sergeant is bewildered. How can a rookie from Nova possess such strength? The hero gives him no chance for a counterattack, continuing his relentless assault. But the sergeant does not give up. His honor as a high-ranking soldier is at stake. He launches a final, desperate attack, shouting that he cannot lose. Suddenly his eyes widen in horror as he sees the approaching fist. Cheoldu delivers a crushing uppercut, sending the sergeant flying. The soldier crashes to the ground with a thud, leaving only a cloud of dust behind. The friends are shocked. They have just witnessed a battle between true superhumans. Lieutenant Choi Seung-ah runs up in horror to the fallen sergeant. She tries to help him while Cheoldu calmly admits it was a good fight. With a smirk, the hero says goodbye, promising to meet them later in Nova. The girl is shocked to see her partner seemingly crying from the humiliating defeat. But the sergeant only laughs maliciously, wiping away blood. The defeat has only fired him up. As he leaves, he vows to remember the name Kang Cheoldu, foreshadowing a new encounter. The scene changes, and we see the hero's home, where a tense atmosphere reigns. At dinner, the grandfather asks in horror if the world is really facing its end. Cheoldu reassures him, although his giant axe in the kitchen suggests otherwise. Then the hero makes an unexpected offer to his grandfather to go with him to Nova. The grandfather asks his grandson to become stronger first, but promises to join later. Their conversation is interrupted by an unexpected knock at the door. At the threshold appears the hero's friend, whom Cheoldu greets with his mouth full. The scene changes. The friends are already discussing Nova against the backdrop of the hero's sports awards. The glasses-wearing friend has found out that the authorities are hiding the truth, disguising news about portals as natural disasters. Cheoldu coldly states that this is a perfect opportunity for those in the know. The friend reminds him of the sergeant's words, who mentioned a certain new soul. It turns out that portals to Nova are opening all over the country, not just in their city. The government and corporations that knew about this are already actively developing these new lands. The largest project is New Seoul, whose portal opened 2 years ago. Cheoldu realizes that 2 years on Earth equals 10 years in Nova, meaning there are already incredibly strong people there. The friend warns that in New Seoul, there will be no rewards for first discovery of territories, unlike in their city. The hero reflects that staying in the old place means falling behind in development. Moreover, in a more developed place, better equipment can be obtained. Cheoldu decisively declares it's time to go, surprising his friends since they have no car. With a sly grin, the hero replies that there's always a way. The scene changes. The friends are already speeding down the highway in a black car, and someone approves their choice. It turns out they are being driven by former gang members who want to follow him, but must first settle old scores. The girl behind the wheel is worried because New Seoul is controlled by the military, and he beat a high-ranking officer. But Cheoldu just coldly smirks, saying those who threaten him can simply be eliminated. The friend is thrilled by the hero's strength as they approach their destination. In the night sky above the mountains, a purple portal ominously spins. The car approaches a guarded checkpoint, the entrance to the portal zone. This is the Paju portal, also known as New Seoul. The friend looks at the portal with awe, but Cheoldu is indifferent. He cares about only one thing, the chance to become even stronger. After teleporting, the friend is surprised. After 10 years, he expected little, but before them stretches an entire city in the style of the Joseon era. Suddenly, their idyll is interrupted by a desperate woman's scream for help. Before the hero's eyes, masked bandits attack a merchant woman. Cheoldu coldly notes that this world also has plenty of bad guys. One of the bandits with a sword lunges at him, demanding he get out of the way. But the hero instantly grabs the thug by the face, stopping his attack. With a powerful throw, Cheoldu slams the bandit straight into the ground. With a mad grin, he declares that he will soon take over all of New Seoul. In gratitude, the rescued merchant invites the friends to her table. She serves them 2 bowls of hot soup, offering to refresh them. The friend is delighted with real food, and the woman thanks them for saving her month's earnings. Cheoldu enjoys the meal, noting how good civilization really is. But his friend suddenly feels nauseous from memories of undercooked alligator. The friend looks in shock at the pile of empty bowls. Cheoldu is devouring the soup greedily. The rescued woman smiles and says that today everything is on her. Cheoldu, with a bone in his mouth, says they just did what they had to and offers his protection. While the hero continues eating, the woman complains that even with soldiers, there are too many bandits in the village. The friend asks if this happens often, and the woman confirms. Due to population growth, resources in New Seoul have become scarce. She explains that now it's a world where the strongest survive and the weak become victims. Cheoldu smirks maliciously. For him, this just means the bad guys will become his prey. The woman laughs, warning that it's not that simple, and advises always using the search skill. Her face turns serious. She explains that without this skill, survival here is impossible. It turns out it can be obtained by hunting horned owls, and it allows assessing the strength of other people. The friend is inspired when it's a great way to check how much they've grown. But the woman stops them, asking if they really plan to go hunting without equipment. With a sly smile, she advises them to arm themselves properly first. Trying on sturdy leather armor, the friends realize they only lack weapons. The friend notices a sign, Yonho Workshop, the very smithy they were recommended. They approach the workshop, and the friend eagerly wonders what amazing craftsman awaits them. Suddenly, a scruffy man with a hammer and a bottle of alcohol comes out of the smithy. Cheoldu bluntly states they need weapons while his friend is shocked by the smell of booze. But the blacksmith, taking a swig from the bottle, coldly says he has nothing and walks away. The friend doesn't give up and asks about an order, since they were told he can forge anything. Smirking, the blacksmith says all smiths in New Seoul have long gone bankrupt. The friend asks in confusion why that happened. It turns out iron has become more expensive than gold because bandits seized the only mine. Cheoldu asks if these are the bandits, and the blacksmith confirms his guess. But these are not ordinary thugs. It's a gang led by Jang Ho-chol, one of the 3 most dangerous men in New Seoul. There's a 100,000 reward for his head, and even the military can't handle him. But this only fires up the hero. He proposes a deal. He will kill the bandit, and the blacksmith will forge him weapons. As proof of his strength, he shows an orc axe, shocking the blacksmith. The master readily agrees, promising to forge any weapon if he can return to his craft. With a confident smirk, Cheoldu tells him to sober up and wait for his victorious return. The friend doesn't understand why the hero needs new weapons, but he explains that variety is key to victory. Cheoldu clarifies that combat tactics change depending on the loot, so one must be prepared. With worry on his face, the friend doubts whether they can even hunt here. His fears are confirmed. The clearing is already full of other hunters finishing off an owl. Looking around, they realize there are plenty of competitors on the other side as well. The whole forest teems with hunters, and finding a free spot seems impossible. The friend is desperate that they won't get any prey, but Cheoldu seems to have a plan. He activates the throw skill and prepares to hurl his huge axe. Like a rocket, the axe flies through the thicket and strikes the horned owl. His friend can only watch in stunned disbelief at what he's seen. The friend looks at the dead owl in horror, unable to believe his eyes. He asks how Cheoldu found it, but he replies that he sensed something non-living. The friend urges him to quickly take the skill stone from the owl's remains. The hero absorbs the stone's energy, gaining the search skill to analyze targets. Activating the ability, Cheoldu smiles and says he can now see his own information. In the status window, his race, traits, and skills are displayed, including Heart of the Barbarian and Ogre Skin. He studies his characteristics carefully, but one thing catches his attention. Among his traits is unexpectedly the fairy's blessing. Cheoldu frowns, since for a barbarian to receive a gift from hostile fairies is nonsense, but his thoughts are interrupted by his friend, who excitedly asks how he looks in the new armor. Cheoldu uses the skill on his friend, but smirks, saying he sees nothing. While they fool around, 2 soldiers watch them from behind the trees. They are Captain Choi Jung-sop and Sergeant Ki Yeon-soo monitoring the heroes. Captain Choi, with a tense face, recalls a recent event. The sergeant panics, pointing to blood on his cheek, the result of that very attack. He is amazed how the axe, barely missing him, changed trajectory and hit the owl. The captain decides they must recruit this incredible warrior. But his face twists in horror when he realizes they are heading to Obong Mountain. The friends arrive at the ominous mountain, and the friend anxiously asks if they are sure about the path. They are immediately surrounded by bandits blocking the way into their territory. One of the bandits, with a greedy grin, notes that the heroes have plenty of valuables. His gaze especially fixates on Cheoldu's shining axe. The gang leader smirks maliciously as the victim has come right into their hands. This is the very Jang Ho-chol, who declares the start of the hunt for them. But the narrative shifts to the past when the friends were just approaching the mountain. The friend wonders why they never met bandits after going deeper into the forest. He anxiously asks if Cheoldu is sure, since the bandits must be very strong. The hero confidently states he won't lose to them because he has an axe. But in the next moment, he suddenly freezes, sensing something wrong. His barbarian instincts scream of an attack coming directly from above. Cheoldu swiftly deflects an arrow with his axe that was flying toward his friend. The friend screams in horror that these are bandits, as archers have surrounded them. But Cheoldu only smirks maliciously, noting they are being greeted too noisily. He looks around, thick fog and a rocky valley, a perfect place for an ambush. The hero instantly realizes they have fallen into a cunning trap. A hail of arrows rains down from above, and he shouts for his friend to hide behind him. Cheoldu activates the Ogre Skin skill, which is known to be tougher than steel. Arrows bounce off his body, causing him no harm. His friend panics and asks if he's okay after such a barrage, but Cheoldu seriously tells him to run, realizing the situation is very dangerous. Cheoldu explains that running from this forest is useless. It would only make them easy targets. The friend panics, noticing a dark spot on the hero's cheek, and shouts that the arrows might be poisoned. But Cheoldu only smirks maliciously, admitting that even ogre skin didn't save him from the poison. He orders his friend to get out of there since this fight isn't for him, but the friend worries about his condition. The hero, with a mad grin, says not to underestimate him because he is a barbarian. The friend screams for him to hold on and runs off, promising to call for help. As soon as the friend disappears, Cheoldu shouts, "Excellent!" and swings his axe at the charging bandits. With eyes burning with rage, he promises to enjoy this fight a little longer. The narrative shifts to a night forest where under 2 moons, someone's dying scream is heard. In the next second, one of the bandits is thrown back by a powerful blow. Cheoldu sends one of the bandits flying with a crushing strike. The bandit crashes to the ground, screaming in pain, unable to get up. The hero grits his teeth as the poison spreads stronger through his veins. He realizes the poison is stronger than he thought, and his body stops obeying him. The leader decides to take advantage of this, shouting as he lunges at the weakened hero. But Cheoldu blocks the sword strike with his last strength, preventing himself from being pierced. The leader is amazed that the barbarian is still moving and orders to finish him off. Cheoldu realizes he cannot prolong the fight and makes a decision. With burning red eyes, he soars into the air for a decisive attack. The hero unleashes a whirlwind of blows on the enemies to break through and escape. Breaking through, the hero rushes through the forest, thinking he is almost at the foot of the mountain, but his path is suddenly blocked and he freezes in confusion. Right in front of him, a huge pit has opened, becoming an insurmountable barrier. From the other side comes a malicious laugh. It is the bandit leader. He smirks, noting that his victim is surprisingly holding up well. Before the hero stands Jang Hochul himself, surprised that he managed to get so far. Cheoldu realizes with horror that he was deliberately lured into this deadly trap. The leader only smirks maliciously, as such strong prey makes the hunt more interesting. Despite the poison, Cheoldu mocks him, calling his methods cowardly. But Hochul is confident in his victory, as the paralyzing poison will soon completely immobilize the hero. The leader predicts that soon the hero will become a walking dead and fall into this bottomless pit. However, he offers Cheoldu a deal: give up everything and swear allegiance to him in exchange for life. But Cheoldu only grins madly, declaring that he is not a warrior but a barbarian. He shouts that he will not let such dishonorable people decide his fate. The leader and his men are shocked. They cannot believe their eyes and call him a madman. With a defiant gesture, the hero jumps into the abyss himself, shouting that he would rather die by his own hand than theirs. He falls into the water at the bottom of the pit, where bones of previous victims are visible everywhere. Losing consciousness underwater, he remembers that this is Obongsan Mountain, which the blacksmith had mentioned. The narrative shifts again to the past, to the moment when his friend went deeper into the forest. The boy stands on the edge of a cliff, noting in confusion that no bandits are in sight. The boy anxiously asks if everything will be okay, as he heard the bandits are very strong. But Cheoldu just smirks, assuring he won't lose to such weaklings and wants to try out his axe. The narrative shifts to the hero's subconscious, where as a child he wonders why he is stuck in the past. Suddenly his hand begins to glow with a mysterious light. Around him appear small dragon-like creatures swirling in a magic vortex. It turns out elves call these creatures spirits. Although in his status it was blessing, for barbarian spirits are a curse and divine punishment. The hero remembers that these spirits have surrounded him since birth. As a child, he told his friends about this, but they turned away from him in disgust. When his secret became known to all, the barbarians considered him cursed and decided to kill him immediately. His family became enemies of the entire tribe, and the boy blamed himself for it. But his mother comforted him, saying that the spirits are part of him and he should not deny himself. Her last wish was for him to survive no matter what it cost. Since then, he always turned away from these creepy spirits and from himself. He wonders if his soul froze in childhood because of this past. But now is not the time for regrets, as survival is necessary. His life was saved at the cost of his family's sacrifice, and he cannot let them down. He decides that this place, his subconscious, can heal his emotional wounds. The hero begins to control his entire body, from fingertips to the crown of his head. He must subdue not only his body but also his mind, accepting all the pain of this process. He screams in pain, trying with willpower to fight the poison in his veins. The hero decides to push out all the poison that has taken over his body, and his body begins to respond to the mental command. He feels an unprecedented lightness, as if invisible chains have fallen from him. With a victorious roar, he completely frees himself from the poison's effect. A system window appears before him. The skill, poison resistance, has been acquired. Cheoldu understands that having overcome the crisis, he has become even closer to the true barbarian. He clenches his fist, rejoicing in his newfound strength and possibilities, but his joy quickly gives way to the realization of harsh reality. After all, he is still at the bottom of a deep pit, and how to get out of here is unknown. The hero looks around at the bottom of the pit, searching for a way out of this deadly trap. His attention is drawn to a huge boulder blocking some passage. Touching the wall, he feels a slight breeze coming from behind the stone. Shifting the boulder, Cheoldu smirks as he discovers a hidden tunnel.
Inside, he sees a huge cave teeming with fierce gnolls.
A system window appears before him. He has entered the hidden dungeon, Abandoned Dragon's Nest. Seeing the reward, the hero grins maliciously. After all, crisis breeds new opportunities. The narrative returns again to the past, where his friend is running in panic from bandits. The pursuers shout for him to stop, assuring him he cannot escape. But the boy desperately shouts that if they were in his place, they wouldn't stop either. Suddenly, one of the bandits catches up to the boy and shouts triumphantly that he has caught him. The robber knocks him to the ground. With a smirk, he raises his sword, preparing to take everything the boy has. The boy screams in horror, unable to break free from the bandit's grip. But at the last moment, someone knocks the bandit down with a powerful blow. The boy looks in shock at his defeated enemy, not understanding what happened. It turns out to be Captain Choi Jung-sop and Sergeant Ki Yeon-soo. The strangers tell the boy to wait while they deal with the situation. They stand between him and a whole crowd of enraged bandits. The robbers charge at the two warriors with furious cries. Captain Choi Jung-sop draws his sword and orders to engage in battle. Meanwhile, Cheoldu stands over the bodies of gnolls, calling them wild dogs. But no matter how many he kills, the horde of fierce monsters does not diminish. The hero realizes that something greater lies behind this onslaught. Suddenly, a huge shadow appears behind the gnolls and they begin chanting. Cheoldu guesses that their leader is hiding deep inside the cave. He smirks, realizing the enemies had a trump card up their sleeve, and rushes in to attack. Shouting, "Out of the way, puny ones," he brings down his axe on them. His fist, engulfed in a red aura, smashes the jaw of another gnoll. In a furious whirlwind of attack, he cuts his way through the crowd of enemies. The hero remembers that the condition for passing the dungeon was to kill the boss, the leader of the gnoll shamans. Cheoldu looks at his main enemy with a fierce grin. The gnoll leader responds with a battle cry, gathering fiery magic in his staff. He unleashes pillars of fire on the ground, trying to incinerate the hero. But Cheoldu activates the ogre skin skill, enduring the fiery assault. Through the flames, he smirks, saying now it's his turn to attack. The hero uses the throw skill, channeling mana into his axes. The leader barely blocks the flying axe with his staff, but he only laughs maliciously, looking at the weapon stuck in his staff. Cheoldu lets out a furious cry and crashes down on the leader from above. With a mad grin, he says he's not done with this bastard yet. His blow strikes the enemy, cracking the ground and shattering the staff to pieces. Now he stands holding the trophy weapon, looking at the defeated enemy. The hero notes with surprise how sturdy the leader's weapon turned out to be. He recalls the barbarian tradition. The victor takes the head of the defeated. Following custom, he raises his axe to perform the brutal ritual. With one strike, he ends the fight and laughs, declaring the dungeon cleared. Suddenly, he is enveloped in a glow and sees with surprise a huge number of rewards. A system window announces the reward, Chief's Emblem, which allows the creation of his own tribe. With a smirk, he takes the Guardian's staff, which now rightfully belongs to him. Suddenly, the system grants another reward for the first completion, the activation of the world map. A mysterious green pattern surrounded by blue energy flashes on his hand. The energy materializes into a holographic map right in his hands. He notices that only the places he has already visited are marked on the map. Suddenly, it dawns on him that the entire vast remaining territory are places he can explore, and his eyes light up with anticipation. But his excitement is interrupted by a sudden system notification. It turns out the dungeon will soon close and the cave begins to flood rapidly. The hero decides to quickly gather coins and attribute stones before leaving the cave. The water rises higher and higher, and Cheoldu roars as he tries to stay afloat. Having escaped the dungeon, he finds himself at the bottom of a deep pit with smooth walls. He feels the wall, realizing that escaping on his own will be impossible. Suddenly, a sound comes from above, and a guess appears on his face. It was Jintae, who looks into the pit in horror and shouts his name. The boy cries with relief, happy that the hero is alive and promises to lower a rope. Cheoldu is moved to tears because Jintae kept his promise. Having climbed up, he boasts to his friends about the new tattoo on his arm. Meanwhile, the captain and sergeant decide to follow him, as that was the order. But Jintae suddenly points at them, recognizing those very warriors. Jintae happily introduces the warriors, as they were the ones who saved him from bandits. Captain Choi Jung-sop and Sergeant Ki Yeon-soo introduce themselves, looking a bit tense. Cheoldu activates the search skill. His eyes light up, and he notes that the warriors seem strong. The soldiers exchange panicked glances, fearing their true identities have been revealed. But the hero assumes they also came to hunt bandits, and the warriors agree with relief. Cheoldu suspiciously asks what score they have with the bandits. Not knowing what to say, the sergeant blurts out that the bandits killed his mother. The hero sympathizes and offers his help in revenge, calling the sergeant brother. When the sergeant clarifies that he is 31, Cheoldu claims he is 32, which enrages the warrior. Cheoldu enthusiastically promises to lay the bandit leader's head on his mother's memorial table. The sergeant gratefully thanks the hero, mentally apologizing to his mother for the lie. The captain notes to himself that the hero is an unusual guy for deciding so quickly to take on the bandit leader. He decides to ask Cheoldu if he has any strategy. The hero turns around with a mad grin that gives the warriors goosebumps. The frightened sergeant asks again what their plan of action is. Cheoldu, pleased to be called brother, announces that first they will search the surroundings, and then, according to him, they will just storm the lair and finish off the leader. The captain timidly asks for a word, interrupting the hero's reckless plan. He confidently states that they don't need to search for anything. The captain points to a mountain, giving the exact location of the bandits' base. Cheoldu is surprised, but the captain smiles and explains he scouted it for revenge. The hero decides that in that case they will go straight to the mountaintop. He smirks, saying real men should act directly. Suddenly they are ambushed and the squad enters a fierce battle. An enemy archer shoots a hail of arrows at them, surrounded by a purple aura. Cheoldu easily deflects them, and the system activates his poison resistance. He roars that such pathetic tricks won't stop him and charges into attack. The hero is thrilled with his new skill, boasting about it to Jintae. The sergeant admits that although Cheoldu is a simpleton, he is incredibly strong. The captain thoughtfully suggests that if the hero defeats the leader, it will only work in their favor. The captain mentally displays a map divided into 3 zones of influence. In the southwest is New Seoul, guarded by government troops. The northeast is controlled by bandits from Obonsan Mountain led by Jang Ho-chol. And in the north are even more dangerous mounted bandits from the wild lands. The military cannot cope with the bandits not only because of their combat skills. If the army suffers losses, the mounted bandits will immediately attack defenseless New Seoul. And if Major Lee, the main strength of New Seoul, is harmed in battle, the city will come to an end. But a bold thought arises in the captain's mind as he looks at the hero's back. What if Cheoldu alone can defeat the bandit leader Jang Ho-chol? He imagines the hero recklessly rushing into battle, and this thought seems like salvation to him. Cheoldu suddenly stumbles, and his friends anxiously ask if he is okay. His whole body burns red, and the hero admits he has had a fever since using the stones. The system issues an error. Absorbing the stones caused an overload, and his stats are not increasing. The sergeant panics and asks how many stones he absorbed, and Cheoldu struggles to answer about 30. The warrior screams in horror that this is beyond human limits and threatens certain death. The sergeant suggests immediately returning to the village, but the captain stops him, saying it's already too late. They have already stumbled upon the bandits' lair, and a whole crowd of armed robbers blocks their path. One of the bandits smirks at them, clearly recognizing the uninvited guests. Cheoldu, overcoming the pain, raises his eyes and also recognizes his old acquaintance. The bandit points at him, recalling the very big guy who fell into a puddle. Ignoring the pain, Cheoldu pounds his fists on the ground, shouting for the puny ones to get out of the way. He angrily shouts the leader's name, Jang Ho-chol, demanding that he come out. The hero shouts that he has come for revenge, but the sergeant begs him to retreat since he is unable to fight. In response to his call, a huge warrior in wolfskin appears, calling himself the Mountain King. Cheoldu just smirks, finding the nickname Mountain King too presumptuous. The leader recognizes the hero and promises that this time he will truly kill him. Jang Ho-chol gives the order, and his henchmen furiously charge into attack. The captain and sergeant enter the fight, covering the weakened hero's back. But the leader ignores the soldiers and declares he will deal with Cheoldu personally. He soars into the air and brings down a huge spiked flail enveloped in a red aura on the hero. The leader smirks, surprised that the hero managed to block his blow. Cheoldu grits his teeth and shouts for him to stop talking and attack. The powerful clash of their weapons throws the leader backward. But Jang Ho-chol delivers a crushing blow, bringing the flail down on the hero. Cheoldu falls to the ground, breathing heavily and leaning on his axe. The hero realizes that because of the enemy's attack range, he cannot get closer. Then he decides to act simpler and charges into battle again. The bandit leader spins his flail enveloped in dark energy. With burning eyes, Cheoldu swings his axe to meet the blow. Their weapons collide with a deafening clang, sparking a shower of sparks. The hero's axe flies off to the side, leaving him unarmed. Cheoldu shouts in rage that now they will fight with bare hands. He lunges at the leader, unleashing a hail of blows wrapped in a red aura. Jang Ho-chol just smirks, asking what difference it makes whether he has a weapon or not. He is confident that his human body alone cannot be defeated. The leader contemptuously declares that the hero will never defeat him. But the system activates the ogre skin skill, and Cheoldu smirks, replying that he is not human. The leader recognizes this skill and says he suspected it. But even so, without letting him finish, Cheoldu delivers a crushing kick to the enemy's head. The hero grins and shouts that he talks too much. The leader rubs his face in annoyance, muttering something about today's youth. But then his face is illuminated by a green glow, and he activates the same ogre skin skill. Cheoldu realizes in amazement that his enemy has the same ability. The leader gloats, shouting that these are not all the surprises yet. Two warriors enveloped in aura clash again in a fierce duel. But Jang Ho-chol proves stronger, and with one blow sends the hero to the ground. The captain and sergeant watch in horror as their comrade is overwhelmed. The sergeant panics and shouts that Cheoldu is not coping. The captain realizes they need to run, but they are tightly surrounded by bandits. Suddenly, the sergeant points behind the captain in horror. The leader grabs the hero in a death grip, trying to crush him. Cheoldu lets out a desperate scream, his body burning with unbearable pain. The soldiers watch the scene in horror, unable to believe their eyes. Meanwhile, another masked bandit attacks the captain. With one blow, he knocks down the sergeant who was trying to help. The bandit gloats, calling the boss's move the human juicer. The leader continues to squeeze the hero, promising that now it's the end for all of them. He mocks Cheoldu, asking where all his former confidence has gone. Jang Ho-chol smirks and reveals his secret. He has hunted ogres twice already. The system confirms his ogre strength skill, and the leader proclaims himself the embodiment of power.